What's up, everybody? It is Kimmy Coco, and we are here with our new platform of connecting the dots. We're not in the studio, obviously. I hope everybody's practicing social distancing. I hope everybody's staying home. We're going to do more live via Instagram, and we're going to do more interviews this way. So today, I have a very special guest, James Herndon. I hope I'm saying that right. Am I saying it right?
Yes, ma'am. You are.
Okay. And he is running for the sheriff of Cobb County. So everyone that lives in Cobb County, pay attention to this. This is a very, very, very important election. The person that is the Cobb County sheriff right now has been there for 15 years. And when he first got there, Cobb County was 90% white. So, needless to say, Cobb County has gone through a lot of changes in the last 15 years, and so the leadership needs to change. So, I came across James Herndon, and I watched his Facebook Live, and he has some very good information to share, and I think that he would be a good candidate. But that's just my opinion. Let him introduce himself and tell us about you.
All right. So as you said before, my name is James Herndon. Um, I'm running as a Democrat for Cobb County Sheriff. I worked for the sheriff's office for about 17 years. Prior to leaving, you can't work for the sheriff and run against him. He'll fire you for that. So prior to that, I graduated from Valdosta State University here in Georgia, way down south Georgia, where I'm from. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I have a master's degree in criminology, and I have a master's degree in public administration. So did all that. I've worked everywhere in the sheriff's office, except for narcotics. I don't like that kind of work. Nasty, dirty. I view most drug use, if you're not out there selling it, as a mental health issue, not because I never met anybody who grew up and said, I want to be addicted to heroin. I want to be addicted to crack. That's not how that works. I know there's a lot of people out here in the society that don't get out much, that haven't seen a lot of our community, that seem to think people choose to stay that way, and they don't choose to stay that way. Most of the time, people try it for the first time when they're consuming alcohol, they get tricked, and then it's got you. So you got to understand how that works. But anyway, I moved here to Cobb County back in 2001, after I got done with school and everything, and I started working for the Cobb County Sheriff's Office right off the bat. Um, I've ran the CSI unit there. I've ran the fraud unit there. I've worked in the jail as a line deputy on the floor. I've worked as a supervisor in the jail. Out of all the candidates, including the sheriff, I'm the only one that has actually worked in the jail. I think that's pretty important if you're going to do that. I've got four boys ranging from ages 8 to 15, all here in Cobb County School System Public Schools. My wife is actually an epidemiologist with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, so she's dealing with this pandemic stuff, all that. And she's actually sleeping right now because she was up all night fielding calls from everybody bringing their kids into the ER. So she has to direct treatment and what to do and all that kind of stuff. So that's with the family and everything. I Part of the reason I want to run for sheriff is I worked there for a long time. I saw a lot of the problems from the inside, and there are a lot of the problems that people don't really know about. Um,
Mm.
all of these deaths, all the stuff that's been going on. We've had 48 deaths. I know the paper gets it a little skewed, but I ran the crime scene unit, so I know how to get the stats. I know how to get the information. I went straight to the medical examiner because you want to know who died where in Cobb County. The medical examiner knows. It's just a
Mm.
matter of somebody asking them. So since Sheriff Warren, who is a 74-year-old white Republican, since he's been in there since 2004, 48 people died in custody. 7 died in 1 year in the past year. Since I've been calling him out on it publicly, just tearing into him pretty viciously about it, there's been none. So they're
Wow.
starting to discharge people and take care of people a little bit better and doing what they're supposed to do. Um, he does this little trick where he'll say that people didn't die in custody. He sends them even dead people. I personally 100% saw this. A man die. Um, he died in the jail. I got an argument with the doctor. The doctor refused to pronounce him dead in the jail because it would look bad.
You know,
So they sent,
I read something that
yeah,
said that he stopped one of the
yeah. If they don't need to be in jail in the first place, I think this pandemic is showing us that we didn't need to be keeping these people in jail. The part of the problem is we police off of people's misery. It's making profit off of human misery. The more people they show they have in jail, the more funding they get. And the more arrests they make, no matter what they're for, they get to say our crime rate's going up. So you need to give us more money and more stuff. The sheriff's office is a set budget. The salaries are set. I get paid the same if I've got 10,000 people in jail or 1,000 people in jail. Why not create less work for everybody and keep these people in the community working? Now, if you're a murderer, child molester, you're out here beating on your spouse or something, yeah, we got a place for you. You need to be in jail. But people in jail, they need to be there because they're a danger to society. That is my line on that, and they need to be separated from society. Some people need a quick time out, like you out here drunk or something. You get locked up, you stay there a few hours, you get out, and you move on. But this, I shoplifted and I need to stay in jail for 3 months because I stole like some steaks from Publix. Come on, how does that help anybody? Now you can't be stealing steaks from Publix, but we don't need to keep you in jail at $80 a day for 3 months on end. I've seen people stay in jail for 6 months on suspended license. It's ridiculous. So the sheriff has this other power under Georgia law that you don't hear many sheriffs using that I want to use.
Mm-hmm.
If a person's been in custody for 5 days, at least 5 days or more, on a misdemeanor offense that's not sexually related, not DUI, the sheriff, upon display of that person's driver's license, can just let them go. On recognizance bond and let them out. So when I can, I plan to use that whenever I can and get these people out of jail.
What does that do to the system? I mean, what you're talking about is just dismantling the whole system in the good old boy way that everything's been going on. I think more people need to be made aware of how things work so that they can get involved. So what do you think that we should do on the ground to try to get this news out?
You got to work and do stuff like this. I'm kind of limited the same way everybody is now. Mainly sharing the message, doing things like this, getting it out there, who we are and what we're about and what we want to do. The other thing I think most people know I'm familiar with, that 287G program, us acting as the federal government to deport people and scare the crap out of them. I'm not going to play that game. I'm not doing it. That's not a state law. And as a sheriff, your job's to enforce state laws. I'm not doing their job for them anymore. If you come to jail and the judge wants to sentence you to a month in jail, you do your month in jail, you get out, you move on, you go back to your wife and kids. I've seen people get deported over not having a license, and they have 3 and 4 kids that were born here and are U.S. citizens, and they've been here 20 years. You literally got the government. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here. Black community has been dealing with this for 300 years, but it's the government ripping families apart. And it's government sanctioned and it's written in the law, and you can see what it is without it being called what it is. If I take in Georgia, Georgia is number 1 in the country for probation, people on probation. 1 in 12 Georgians are on probation. 35% of black males are under some sort of criminal justice supervision here in Cobb. That's ridiculous. You got men that can't support their families even if they wanted to because they're constantly being pulled in and out of jail for piddly stuff. I used to tell people when they get probation offenses, I was like, no matter what you do, man, keep that check coming, keep that money coming to probation because that's what this is about. If you don't pay your fines, they will lock you up in a heartbeat. I've seen people test dirty on a urine test and stay on the street, but you don't give them their $50, you're gone. You're going to jail. So I don't like that. We need to go back to the way things were. If the original intent of laws are to get people readjusted to behave, to do what they're supposed to do. So if you do something dumb, you need to stay in jail for 2 or 3 days, and that's your punishment. Let's do that. Let's move on. But this putting kids on probation for a year because they can't pay a speeding ticket, that's garbage. I mean, you could go out here on the street and borrow money from somebody on the corner at cheaper rates than what they're going to charge you. Because at the end of that $200 ticket will end up costing $2,000.
So tell us more about voting by mail.
So voting by mail, I filled out my absentee ballot that everybody should have gotten the mail. It's an application. So what I did was I scanned mine. I took a picture and sent it into the email. It was absentee at cobbcounty.org. I can put the stuff back up on my website. I think I've got it on my Facebook page. But man, I'm not a fan of the way they send it out. They want you to put a stamp on it, like 55 cents. And there's currently a lawsuit about that saying it's a poll tax. And they want you to have clear tape to put on it. They made the thing where you can't even seal it back up to send it in. And if you try to send it in unfolded, the Postal Service won't take it. So that made it to me seem like they really don't want people to vote. If you've seen Speaker Ralston, he's the Speaker of the House for the state of Georgia. He literally said, and he got caught saying it multiple times, that if more Democratic people show up and vote and more minorities are allowed to vote, that they will lose power and that no Republican will ever get elected again. And I'm like, and?
Yeah. So, I mean,
Because
clearly
they're trying to
it's a
keep the
good
numbers
way.
down. Yeah, they want to keep the numbers down. They want to keep people suppressed. So you got to do that. I think the new deadline to register is May 19th, but let's not do that. You need to go on the Secretary of State's website, get registered now. You can do all that stuff from your house. So you need to do that, get registered to vote if you're not registered to vote. I actually have access to a database. They give it to you when you're running for office that I can see when people vote and how they vote. And I'm quite surprised that a lot of people that are out here, I can't see who you vote for, but I can see when you vote. I'm surprised a lot of these people out here talking all this noise about you got to vote and stuff. And then I look and I'm like, man, you voted one time in 10 years. if you don't do it, it's all talk.
Right.
See, the other side's not, I'm not trying to be whatever, but they're not talking, they're doing. You gotta do. If people show up and vote in the numbers they need to show up and vote, it's simple. You won't be ignored anymore because you can't be ignored because you're in charge now. That's what we've got to change. We haven't had a Democrat in this office since the 70s.
Wow. So
if I change this, whatever party has held the sheriff's office, the rest of the counties went. So if the sheriff was Republican, it's been a Republican. If the sheriff's Democrat, it's with Democrat. It's kind of the test office for the county.
You also said you wanted to launch a mental health crisis response team, which I think would probably drastically reduce the amount of people in prison.
Yes, because there's a lot of times I would see police departments bring in people for public drunk. I would see police departments bring people in for walking around, talking to themselves, kind of going out in the street and stuff. Man, when you see that, everybody, you don't have to have special training. We're going to get people training, but you know when somebody's not right, when they're having a problem. Every Georgia law enforcement officer can fill a form out they've got in their car that says, hey, I want this guy evaluated. I think he's going to hurt himself or he's a threat to themselves or others. And that doesn't mean you're violent. You can be walking out in traffic and be a threat to yourself. So you take them to the hospital. The doctors evaluate them. If they feel they need treatment, they can keep them up to 3 days. Get them stabilized, get them on medication, give them a prescription to leave with, and they don't go to jail. But you go back to that low-hanging fruit thing where the police want to jack up their stats and they'll arrest people for, public drunk, for pedestrian not crossing in the right place, all this kind of garbage. One of the men that died in jail was like this. They arrested him. This is my opponent's officers. Arrested the guy walking around, not making any sense outside of the mental health unit of Cobb Hospital there, in Austell, East-West Connector. So they arrested him and took him to jail. He just got discharged from there. Obviously, he's not doing okay. Take him back. It's nothing to take him back. Nothing says you have to arrest somebody right then. The only thing, there's a couple of things you got to arrest somebody for right then, murder, child molestation, stuff like that. But most anything else, you can go get them later. That's what deputies do at the sheriff's office. They serve warrants, they hunt people down, and they arrest them. So you can take them in there, get them evaluated, and that's it. They don't go to jail. But the other thing I'm advocating, when you have a mother call and say, my 23-year-old son is tearing up my kitchen right now. He's having an episode. He's schizophrenic. Man, the last thing we need is people coming out here with guns drawn, because it's going to up the aggression on both sides. And you can say what's right and what's wrong, and you may be justified, but I can go out here on the street right now and push somebody's buttons and probably make them fight me. All I got to do is say the right things at the wrong time, and I can make them fight me. the same thing applies when you're dealing with people like that. I can push somebody to a point where they do something dumb and they cause me to take action, shooting them, tasing them. We've seen that.
For is training.
Yes. So this will be the training I would do. They have a crisis intervention team. I was actually certified on that. So when you have a mother like that call, instead of sending regular patrol officers, we send out a couple of people. They do this out in Texas. I've seen it in Dallas. I've seen it in San Antonio, different places where they have specially trained deputies. They go out and they talk the person down and they take them for mental health treatment because mom's not wanting them to go to jail for tearing up the kitchen. That's her son. If I call for help, I'm not calling so you come out here and beat on my kid and take him to jail. I'm calling because I need help. I can't get him in the car and I can't take him somewhere myself. Well, they can. And if you need to use force to do that, it happens sometimes. Some people they're at this line and they're just not going to come back from it. But these guys do. I've watched them. There was a special on HBO about them. They did awesome. They talked people literally off of ledges about to jump off the interstate. Literally, about to kill their mom with a knife, and they talk them down and they get them into the car, and then they follow up after they take them for treatment. When they get out, they follow up and ask them how they're doing, and they continue to check on them because see, law enforcement is not supposed to just be like, you're supposed to be a protector of the community. It's not just arresting people. You're supposed to be looking out for people. So a lot of these people with mental health problems, they slip, they fall because they can't remember to take their medicine. They forget to take their medicine. And Georgia closed down nearly every mental health treatment facility there is in the state. Pretending that mental illness doesn't exist doesn't make it go away. It's existed since the beginning of mankind. It will exist 500 years in the future. It's just the way it is. But we've got to stop pretending it doesn't exist. And these people don't belong.
Can you hear me?
Jacob, can you bring me your headphones?
Oh, yep. It died.
They died. Remember I told you I was trying to get some out of my car.
Okay, but I can hear you, but maybe you can't hear me.
I can kind of hear you.
You might not want to, it's kind of gross.
You're on TV, so bye. Just give me 1 second. Those were my wireless ones.
Okay, I think that's gonna work.
Yep.
Okay, that's cool.
Okay,
I can hear you now. So I think that empathy is something that all leadership should have, and I think, and you definitely show that, an understanding of people that I haven't seen, especially not in any law enforcement in Cobb County, as far as I can see, as long as I've been here. And like I said, the reputation of Cobb County precedes it. I mean, everyone knows, people don't even want to live or move to Cobb County because of the reputation that the cops have. And I think that we have the power to change that. Like I said, the person that is the sheriff right now, he's been there for 15 years. I don't even know why he, at that age, would continue to even run.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, when I'm 74 years old, I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm not trying to work. He's been there since 1978, actually. But he's been the sheriff since 2004, but he's either been number 1, 2, or 3 since 1978. So, and he's been endorsed by Kemp. He's been endorsed by Purdue. He was endorsed. I think they're trying to find a way to hold on to power with a fake Democrat, but that's a whole nother story.
Wow. We have a lot of work ahead of us. I really, I can't wait for people to see this interview. I want people in Cobb County to kind of know what's going on, because I just think that people just get complacent and they're just like, oh, that's just how it is. But we really do have the power to change it. Yeah. And as long as they know that there's someone that is running that has their best interests, I don't think enough people know
It
that there
doesn't
is
matter to
somebody out
them
there that's
until it happens to you or your family. I've had my own family members go to jail. I've had to deal with this. So I've seen it from both sides, and it matters. Nobody pays attention to this until it happens to you. And you live long enough and know enough people, you're going to know somebody that goes to jail. Your kid may go to jail. Your grandkid may go to jail, and it could be for something tiny, and they end up dying out there in that place. If you notice these people dying, if they could badmouth them, they would. And you hadn't heard any of them like, oh, that guy was charged with murder, or oh, that guy was whatever. No, it's little tiny stuff they're dying in there because they're poor. They can't get out.
great community.
Mhm.
And one of the things that you also said that you wanted to end 287G.
Correct.
Can you
Yeah.
tell us more about what that is?
So 287G is just, it's the numericals, kind of like Area 51. It's the numeration, what they named this particular program. So the federal government comes in and deputizes. I think there's about 12 of them now that work for the ICE program, deputy sheriffs, to act on their behalf, to put holds on people and put them up for deportation. Now, this is just a deputy doing this. So this deputy could have a GED, could have all the way to master's degree, but that's usually not the case. But this is a deputy just deciding to do this. And because when you come into custody, they ask you, where were you born? Well, if you got any sense, you know the Fifth Amendment, you don't have to answer that crap. But people don't know that, so they say, like, I was born in Mexico, or I was born in Canada, and they'll take you over this other room, fingerprint you, and start processing you, trying to find a way to kick you out of the country, no matter what you're in there for, which is garbage. Like I said before, a lot of these people have been here for 20 years, and we always think of people crossing the border as being like sneaking across the border. 90% of these people we invited here. We let them come here. We asked them to come here, pick our vegetables, pave our roads, put roofs on our houses, and they like it and they want to stay here. They stay here for 5 or 6 years in a row, and I don't blame them. Why would they want to go back home? Because this is now their home, especially when they meet someone. They have a child here that is a U.S. citizen, and then we want to deport them. I've seen it happen to a guy that he really did. He had 3 kids. I arrested him. He was driving down South Cobb Drive, no license, no insurance. I originally pulled him over because he had this big load on his truck that was about to fall over. And this is when the ICE program first started in 2008. And I didn't know what it was. I was out in the field working then. I wasn't working in the jail anymore then. And took the guy to jail, and I was wondering, because you check on your cases like people you've dealt with, and I'm like, this dude's still in jail. It's been 6 months for no license. Come on, man. It's like $100. And then he got sent to a detention facility in Missouri by ICE, and then he eventually got deported. And he had been here 20 years almost, 3 kids, all U.S. citizens, wife a U.S. citizen. They don't care. Gone.
Wow.
I don't want to be a part of that. Again, it's been happening to communities of color for 300-400 years, and this is just a new group, same stuff. And I don't like it. It's using the law to do that. So a sheriff, the day I walk in, I'm the sheriff, I'm in charge of that. No, we're not doing 287G anymore. And I shut it down. It's not something that takes me days or months or years. Literally that second, I go, we're not doing this anymore. The federal government does this, and they have local deputies do it, and they don't go to a judge, and they don't get a court order. So any other cop in this country, except for ICE, has to get a warrant or a court order. Now, we do that in this country on the ideal that a judge is an independent person, for what that's worth on stuff, and reviews it and tells the officer, yeah, you can put a hold on this person, or no, you can't. So when I arrest somebody, typically when I apply for a warrant, I'll say, this is what I believe the person did, and this is what I want to charge them with. Now, the judge sometimes goes, this looks good, I'll allow these charges. Sometimes the judge is like, no, you don't know what you're talking about, you're not charging with that. This is stuff the public doesn't realize, and the judge takes it off of there. It's a protection for people. It's an independent person looking at the work and deciding, does this make sense? Is this guy telling the truth? And I have to swear and affirm to him that it's true under penalty of law. With the ICE hold, no, just that guy's Jose Rodriguez. He may or may not be a guy that's here illegally. Let's just put a hold on him. And they do it all the time, and then they don't actually deport most of them. They just keep them in there for months and months. And as you know, while you're in jail, you lose your house, you lose your job, you lose your car. And then they're like, oh, our bad. Well, Cobb County ends up being the one cutting the checks, not the federal government, when they get it wrong. And they do get it wrong several times a year, and they end up $50,000 tends to be the standard settlement from Cobb. So I don't like that program. Rips families apart and doesn't go through a judge. And it's against the Fourth Amendment. I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, I think that we just need to get the word out and let people know what your platform is and what your policies are going to be. And hopefully, well, I'm going to make sure that a lot of people from Cobb County watch this interview. And anytime that you want to come back, I want to invite you to come back again.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I really just want to keep people on top of what's going on. Because like I said, I think that right now we have the power to change. I think Cobb County, is like you said, it's becoming 30% people of color. I think it might be even more than that. The last election,
well, that's just African Americans. We're floating near 40%. Now you add in Latinos that aren't afraid anymore. You're now driving the voting power of it's a group I belong to. You're getting near 50%. But it's not just minorities and people of color. Other people are waking up, and they're being, no, we don't want to participate in stuff like Trump and Warren and Kemp. We won't change. So it's not just minority groups. Everybody's starting to wake up. But the problem is they have to go to the polls and vote. Otherwise, nobody cares how much noise you make. When it comes down to game time, if you don't show up and you don't vote, it doesn't matter. You have to vote.
voting. I know early voting was going on when the whole pandemic came on, and right before we shut down, the week after they shut everything down was going to be the week where I could go across the street and go vote.
Wow.
So now, where are we with that?
So ideally, I want you to get your absentee ballot because there's a way to track that. Once you get your ballot, you can actually track it to the Secretary of State. You can see when it was received. You can see it was processed. Unlike when you go down and vote, you don't know what happened. Did it go through? Did it not go through? That's part of the whole garbage we've got here in Georgia. I don't like this. But June 19th is going to be the new primary date. But ideally, what I want people to do is get those ballots. And here's the other deal. You get them at home. You're not on the spot. I'm sure it's happened to you. It's happened to me where you're looking down the ballot and you're like, who is this dude?
Yeah.
I've never even heard of this office. You're sitting there at home in front of your computer. You can get on the computer and you can look these people up. You can make informed choices at home and take your time. Just get it back. So the ballot has to be in the hands of Cobb County elections on June 19th or before, not postmarked. So don't play games with that. They don't care if it's postmarked 7 days earlier. If they get it on June 18th, then they count, or I'm saying June 20th, they won't count the ballot. So it's got to be in their hands before then.
So anyone can use the absentee ballot?
Yes, anybody right now. Anybody can. And you should. Because then, like I said, you can make an informed choice at home. You can look me up. You can look up my opponents. You can decide what you want to do and what we're about. And you can look up all those other offices that, even though I'm in this game, I still have to look these people up. And I'm like, who are you? What are you running for? And kind of, figure it out. But I'm waiting on my absentee ballot as well. I put in a request right when I got it, like a week ago. And I'm still waiting. But
so you have to request. You have to apply for it first.
Yes, ma'am.
And then
every
they mail
registered voter should have got a ballot request in the mail. It looked like kind of like junk mail. I can post what it looked on there. That's the problem. It was like red, white, and blue, and it was like vote. But it wasn't like something that really caught your attention otherwise. It was like a skinny, small envelope. But you can also go to the Secretary of State's voter page. We can give you that information, or you can put it up, and you can just request an absentee ballot. You don't have to wait on that form to come in. Yep.
On Brett Roethlisberger, I never know how to say his name correctly. Is that his name?
Either. Yeah, that's his name. But so it's called My Voter Page. My Voter Page, Georgia. Look up My Voter Page, Georgia. And it'll ask you stuff like, what's your first initial, what's your last name, what's your date of birth, and then it'll pull you up and it'll show you where you're registered to vote. And then over on the left, I'm probably gonna get my campaign manager and we'll do a step-by-step like video on how to do this, but they make it harder than they should. You shouldn't have to request this stuff. It's your right. They should just send it to you and you should be able to vote.
Or just let us know, because if I saw that in my mailbox, I probably threw it away. I didn't get it. I mean, I planned on going across the street to the community center to vote. I didn't know.
If you hadn't gotten it, then something went wrong. You should have already got it. They mailed those things out like 10, 15 days ago. See, that's what I'm worried about, and that's what they're counting on, is doing that kind of mess that people don't vote. Because, like, my wife's epidemiologist, she said that she told me in January this was going to be a big deal because that's what she does for a living.
Right.
So she said this comes in waves. We're going now. It'll go down. She said it'll go back up too. So I don't know how long this mess will go on, but she said her professional opinion, it will go back up.
So we most likely need to all get on there and try to vote by mail, because we don't know. Because I was waiting. It was going to be the next week after they sent us home to work from home that I was going to go vote. Because if I did it before that, I had to go a little bit further away. So I said, I'll just wait until it's closer. And then I couldn't. And I was so upset. And I don't want people to not vote because,
right,
we don't really have to vote for our Democratic candidate because now there's only one.
The president, but the local level matters the most. That's who has the most impact on your day-to-day life. Is the local offices. But yeah, because the president thing, I'm not a fan of how all that went down either, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So
now that there's just two and people are like, I really don't have to vote right now because Joe Biden is my only option. But no, you really, really, really got to vote locally.
There's like 10 other people on the ballot. We've got two. Abrams won this county by 9% in 2018. The numbers have simply went up. One, because people moved in, and two, because people woke up and they're like, I'm not voting for these clowns anymore. I don't like how they're treating us. They're switching parties. There are enough people in this county to swing every Democratic ballot if they want to. In the end, look at the person and you decide who you want to vote for. But as far as me being part of the Democratic Party, there's no way we shouldn't take down all these seats. There's more of us now. It's just when we vote. See, I don't know if you've seen this little infomercial I saw. It was like Facebook or YouTube, somebody put it out, but I'm not trying to be whatever, but it was a bunch of old white people. And they had this thing, they were like, sit home, nobody cares, you're not going to change anything.
I saw that.
We go to the polls, we vote every single time. That's how you wonder, like, how did we end up with President Trump? That's exactly how.
Yep.
If you don't show up, you don't count.
Yeah, I want to try to get more people involved. That's basically what we talk about on the show all the time is, how important it is to vote and how important it is to be involved in your local politics more than anything. So I really, really appreciate you. I wish you the best of luck. Like I said, anything that I can do, I'm going to try to do to help you because I believe in what you're doing and I really want to see a change in Cobb County. So we would love to have you come back again. Hopefully we can do this in person one day. I hope they get a hold of this. We're gonna have to have an interview with your wife one day to try to wrap our mind around all that's going on. Yeah,
it's a mess.
But thank you for having this sit down with us again. I'm going to talk to you later to see where you're at and if you have anything else you want to share so we can update people, because I really, really, really think you have a lot of good to share with everyone in Cobb County.
Thank you. And if you want to find us, I'm on the web at herndonforsheriff.com, on Facebook at Herndon for Sheriff, and Instagram Herndon for Sheriff, and Twitter Herndon for Sheriff.